All right, so past tense in English can be pretty tricky, right? Especially with irregular verbs where you have go, went, gone, or the be verb, I am, I was, I have been. But with regular verbs in past tense, it's easy, right? Just add the ed. Okay, well, actually, things can get a little complicated because there are actually three different ways to pronounce the ed at the end of regular verbs in past tense. Okay, let's talk about them. So first, the ed can make a t sound, as in walk, walked. I walked to the store yesterday, walked. Okay, the ed can make a d sound, as in follow, followed. My cat followed me around the house all day yesterday. Followed. Or the ed can make an id sound, as in wanted. Like when I was young, I really wanted to go to Disneyland. Wanted. Okay, so how do we know when to use the different pronunciations? Well, actually, the rules are pretty easy to follow, and they're logical too. They're based on what's easiest to pronounce. All right, let's talk about these. So number one, if the base form of the verb ends with a voiceless consonant, don't worry, I'll explain this, then the ed sounds like a T. Okay, by the base form, I mean the present tense form. So for the verb swimming, the base form would be swim. For the verb went, the base form would be go. All right, and then what's a voiceless consonant? All right, so this means a consonant, a letter that's not a vowel, that we don't use our voice for. Okay, so for example, let's think about the letter S. Okay, so say the sound. Do you feel like you're using your voice? You can test this by putting your hand on your throat. If you can feel the vibrations, it means it's a voiced consonant. If you can't feel the vibrations, it means it's a voiceless consonant. So the word S, we can't hear anything, so that's a voiceless consonant. Let's look at some examples. How about F? We don't use our voice, so if a word ends with F, then the D will sound like a T. For example, sniff becomes sniffed. She sniffed the roses, sniffed. All right, how about K? We don't use our voice, so the ed sounds like a T. Look becomes looked. All right, let's do some more practice. How about V? We do use our voice, so the ed will not sound like a T at the end of a verb that begins with V. Okay, how about P? We don't use our voice, so help becomes helped. All right, and if you can keep in mind that we use these rules just to make the pronunciation of past tense regular verbs easier, then that will help you, because helped is easier to say than helped. That would be harder to say and that would sound weird, but helped is easier to say, and at least to my ears, it sounds better. Let me know if you think it sounds better. Okay, let's go on to the second rule. All right, so if the base form of the verb ends with a voiced consonant, you use your voice, or a vowel, then the ed will sound like D. Let's look at some examples. Okay, let's think about close. Okay, the last sound is a Z sound. So it means we're going to add a D sound. Close becomes closed. She closed the door quickly. Closed. Okay, remember, we're not talking about the letters exactly, but the sounds. And those aren't always the same thing, right? So for example, the word dance The last letter is E, but we don't pronounce that E, right? Actually, the C, E makes a S sound. The last sound is actually S, okay? And that's a voiceless consonant, dance. So we add a D, danced. All right, how about follow? Okay, the last sound, not the last letter, but the last sound is O, follow. So that's a vowel, so we're gonna add a D. Follow becomes followed. Same for enjoy, oi, that's the last sound. So that's a vowel sound, so we add D. Enjoy, enjoyed. Okay, and rule 3, this is actually the most important one because the pronunciation changes the most and it can be confusing if you don't pronounce it correctly. So for the last rule, if a word ends with a T or a D, if a verb in the base form ends with a T or a D, we add id, and this actually makes it another syllable. So for example, the word want ends with a T, so we have to say wanted. I wanted to go. Okay, how about the word decide? This is tricky. It ends with an E, but actually the sound is D, right? Decide. So the past tense would be decided. Okay, let's do one more. How about invite? So what's the last sound? It's not an E sound, right? The E is silent. It's a T sound, invite. So the past tense would be invited. All right, those are the 3 rules for how to correctly pronounce regular verbs in the past tense. Let's do some exercises. So I will give you a word, a verb. You try to think, is it a voiceless consonant? So I have to add a T sound. Is it a voiced consonant or a vowel? So I add a D sound. Or does it end with a T or D sound, T or D sound? In which case you add id and it makes it an extra syllable. Let's go. Number 1, guess. Guess. That's right. It should be guessed. Guessed. T sound. Okay, how about the word die? Die. It should be died. Died, because it's a vowel sound, so D. So we add the D sound. Died. Okay, how about number 3? Agree. Agree. The answer is agreed. Agreed. Okay, how about fix? Fix. Okay, the answer is fixed. X doesn't use our voice, so it sounds like T. Fixed. Fixed. All right, and then how about accept? Accept. Okay, the answer is accepted. Accepted. It ends with a T, so we add it. Accepted. And the last one, end. The right answer is ended. Ended. Ends with a D, so we add id. Ended. All right, so if you follow those 3 rules, you should be able to correctly pronounce any past tense regular verb.